Hi everybody, my name is OPT Lawyer, and let me answer the first three questions that I know you're going to have just right now. Yes, I am wearing a shirt with a cute cartoon otter on it. Yes, that is a power morpher. And yes, that is a stuffed otter. What? Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about a question that I've been asked a whole lot in my career. Yes, I am a practicing attorney. They gave me a license to practice law. Yeah, I know, it scares me too. But there's one question that most of my friends and people I've talked to about my career always ask me, and it's, how can you defend someone like that? So, in order to give you context, I should probably talk a little bit about my career, because I decided apparently to make this video about me. Crap. Anyway, if you think, before I get started, if you think that this is going to be a well-scripted, concise discussion as to the answer to that question, hi, we've never met before! Good to meet you. I'm used to streaming, I'm not used to making videos like this, so, yeah, this is going to be kind of off the cuff as it is. So, I was a criminal defense attorney. I'm not anymore. I'm a staff attorney, so I actually don't practice anymore at all. But before that, 9.5 years I was a criminal defense attorney. Most of that time was done in appeals. And basically, when you get convicted of something, or when you get sentenced to something, or whatever, you have the right to appeal. And you have the right to appointed counsel on your direct appeal to the Court of Appeals. That would be me. I would get appointed to you. I did a lot of appointments. I wasn't with the public defender's office or something like that, but basically the same thing. In my county and in my state, we do appoint private defense counsel to indigents at the trial level and the appellate level. That's just the way that is. I started off doing criminal work in general, and one day I got appointed to an appeal, and I loved it so much I pretty much turned that into my career. I have been appointed to represent a very wide range of cases in the criminal justice system. I have represented somebody convicted of misdemeanor of the 4th degree, which is the second lowest misdemeanor we have in my state. This person was convicted of a misdemeanor of the 4th degree, running a school bus stop sign. That went to trial, and I won that case, but that's for another story. I've also been appointed to represent somebody who was convicted of 2 counts of aggravated murder. This is the highest count we have in this state. And a lot of things in between that. So I've got a very wide range of the spectrum here. But, as I've said, I have represented like 4, maybe 5 people who've been convicted of some type of murder. I have represented people who have been convicted of rape. I have represented people who have been convicted of child pornography, at least having it, not making it. I have represented people who have been convicted of felonious assault, stealing things, drugs, everything. Like, pretty much one of the only things I haven't done is like a workers' compensation fraud case. I had an unemployment fraud case, but not a workers' compensation case. Anyway, the question always comes up, how do you defend someone you know is guilty? Or how do you defend someone like that? That person's scum! How can you do that? Well, it's actually a quite simple answer. That's our system. The system needs 2 sides. It's adversarial. It needs 2 sides for a reason. It only works if the prosecutor is on the side of the state, standing there, presenting all of the evidence and saying that this person should be found guilty because we have all of this evidence and this person's guilt is beyond a reasonable doubt. And then there has to be somebody on the other side who looks at that evidence and says, well, wait a minute. No, this doesn't prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. This doesn't even prove anything at all. On the appellate side of things, my clients were already convicted. At this point, it was me trying to tell the court system, hey, my client shouldn't have been convicted. We all know the phrase, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. That phrase, while very true, you lose that when you go to appeal. Now, you no longer have the mantle of innocence because you've been found guilty by a judge, by a jury, by your own admission, whatever. But the system has rules. And this is going to sound just basic and stupid, but it's true. The system has rules. And if we don't follow those rules, things that aren't supposed to happen might. For instance, the first reversal I ever got was on a drug case. My client was charged with and convicted of aggravated possession of drugs, or maybe trafficking at this point, I don't remember, because he had 170 pills of Percocet on him. It's not like he didn't have 170 pills of Percocet on him. It's not like we could prove that he didn't have it on him. It's not like there was a question as to whether or not he was the person who had the pills on him or not. He had the pills on him. But the state screwed up in presenting its evidence, and the court still found him guilty. And the Court of Appeals was like, no, that's not right. That was not done right. You lose this conviction. And I never felt bad about that, because if we are screwing up the cases where the client, the defendant, either clearly or almost clearly did the thing he's charged with, or at least some facet of the thing he was charged with, and you're getting convictions, or you're getting convictions because you screwed something up, what happens on the other cases where maybe it's not so clear? Maybe there is a question of identity. Maybe there is a big question as to whether or not this happened the way you said it did. What happens in those cases? If you're screwing up the easy stuff, what happens on the harder cases? That's where I am. That's where I come in. I would argue just the weirdest gosh darn thing sometimes. And sometimes I was right. Most of the time I was wrong. And that's the thing of it. As an appellate attorney, and really as defense counsel in general, but as an appellate attorney, I should not be winning cases. If everything is done correctly, if everything is done the way the law is written, the only cases I should win is a case where I argue that the law is just flat out wrong. Like that this law is unconstitutional, or this law is just not right, or this law conflicts with another law and it should just be thrown out because the General Assembly's completely screwed up. I should not be winning cases based on evidence, because that should not happen. I had a case where the client was charged with possession and trafficking of drugs. He was pulled over. He was found with drugs on him. It went to a motion to suppress. The judge denied the motion to suppress. Client pled no contest. We went on appeal to argue that the suppression should have been granted. And the Court of Appeals found that, yes, the stop was not based on probable cause. The search was not based on probable cause. The judge was wrong. This evidence should have been suppressed. Again, client was found with this on him. There wasn't a question as to whether or not he was found with these drugs. Quite literally, the suppression motion was dispositive of the entire case. Either the state had the evidence, or it didn't. If the state had the evidence, then he's going to plead, because that's it. If it doesn't have the evidence, then the state has to throw the case out, because that's literally their only evidence, is the stuff. If they don't have the stuff, you can't be convicted of having the stuff. That's kind of how it is. Was I ever sickened by some of it? Maybe. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thankfully, like the one person I had on child pornography, I didn't have to actually go look at the stuff. Because it wasn't a question as to whether or not it was child pornography or not. Really, the big question was whether or not downloading it from one thing to another device of his own constituted transfer, which elevated the charge up. It was never a question as to whether or not he had it. It was a question of how much of a degree of offense was it. And people convicted of rape before. That's awful, but there's still things an attorney has to do. I mean, yeah, and that's our job. That's what we're sworn to do. And you might feel inside of you like morally there's, obviously I don't like these charges, but at the same time, my client has the absolute right to a real defense. So in the moment of the case, you find the thing that you want to argue, and you argue it as passionately and as correctly as you can. And then the court tells you if you're wrong or not. And then sometimes I disagree with the court. It happens. It's a thing. Sometimes I was like, well, this is really a wrong thing and it shouldn't have happened. The court said no. I have to live with that, and that's okay. It is what it is. Do I have innocent people in prison right now? I can point to... In my career, I touched 200 or more appellate cases when I stopped counting. That's between 2008 and 2017. I would say out of all of that, there is one person in there right now that I think completely did not do the thing that they were convicted of. I think I have a few clients in there that maybe didn't do the thing they were convicted of, maybe something to a lesser degree of the thing they were convicted of, but I can think off the top of my head of one person who's inside right now that I think should not be there. Like, completely should never have gone there, should never have been convicted. I can think of one in 9.5 years. And that hurts, though. Even one hurts. I'm one of those people, I'd rather have 10 guilty people go free than put one innocent person in jail, kind of a thing. That sentence is so true, though. If the court system, if the prosecutors, if the police are making mistakes, if they are absolutely breaking or bending or just ignoring the rules, how confident can we be that the system is working? I love our criminal justice system. Do I think it's perfect? No. No, I don't. It's not. It has flaws, it has holes, it has gaps, absolutely has issues. It's the system we have. And does it need certain reformations? Maybe. But we're all human, and we do the best we can with what we've got. So when I look at our system as a whole and how it's supposed to operate, I think our system is pretty gosh darn good. But human beings are running it. And of course, when humans get involved, it turns into, do we have the right people in the right spots? And I think for the most part, we do. But we all seen news stories about one thing or another. We see it locally more all the time, issues and things. We see the quote-unquote bad apples in the police department. We see the bad apples in the prosecutor's office. We see the bad apples on the bench. And we see the bad apples on the defense bar. I pay attention to ethics cases. I see it everywhere. We're not a perfect system, but it's the system we have, and it does work if given the right chance to. And really, I looked at myself as I'm defending the system. Yes, I'm defending my client, but in actuality, I'm really defending the system, especially on appeal, because I have to sit there and argue that maybe the system screwed up, or the people in the system screwed it up. The system works great if these people don't screw it up. And yeah, I didn't win most of my cases. I won a number, but not proportionally, not a lot. And that's okay. That was fine. It was, it hurt sometimes, and it got depressing losing after 5, 7, 8 decisions in a row. But you just move on, you keep going, and you find the one thing you can argue that you win on. I won some really silly cases. I successfully argued that my client's sentence was against or contrary to law because he was sentenced to 6 months on a misdemeanor of the first degree, when the statute says that the maximum penalty for said misdemeanor of the first degree is 180 days. I'm like, well, that's 6 months, right? Well, no. I figured it out. I went on timeanddate.com and figured it out that 6 months can be 180 days, but it can also be 181 or 182-ish, depending on what month you start in and what month you end on. It's never less, as far as I could tell, because I ran 12 different goes at it. I could not find one that was less. And the Court of Appeals agreed with me, even though in the decision you could read the eye rolling. Like, yes, lawyer, you're right. It's 180 days. It's not 6 months. We amend the sentence to read 180 days. Thank you. Go away. They loved me, though. But yeah, I argue this. I'm that stupid technical hyper guy that you all hate. The guy that argues the hyper technical tiny little thing that ends up unraveling an entire case. I'm that guy. I'm unashamedly that guy. Because again, the system has rules. And if we all play by the rules, then everything works fine. In this instance, like nothing happened. My client's sentence was amended from 6 months to 180 days. Outside of that, that was it. I mean, the jail he was going to gives you good time credit for breathing. He was going to be released at least 150, if not sooner, anyway. But I was right. and you know, it's one of those things where, hey, if someone doesn't catch this, let's say this person doesn't get his good time credit, he might end up serving 1 or 2 days more than he's supposed to. And when we're talking about taking somebody's liberty away, even 1 day makes a difference. Because in our system, like, one of the main punishment is taking somebody out of society and putting them in a bricked enclosure for X amount of time. We take away your liberty. Even on probation, we've taken some of your liberty away. Yes, not all of it. You're allowed to be out. You're allowed to do most of what you want to, but you can't do X, Y, and Z. And if you do X, Y, and Z, we're either going to pull you into some other kind of confinement, or we're going to send you to prison. The system does work, and the right people are in the right spots. And unfortunately, that's a crapshoot sometimes. Even in the same courthouse, it can be an absolute crapshoot. It can be county by county, it can be judge by judge, it can be state by state. But it's what we have. And I felt, when I was practicing, I felt very passionate, and I still do. I felt very passionate about a criminal justice system. I love it. And if those mistakes cannot, if we can put that glaring star up that says, hey, don't do this, and the state stops doing this, and they still get convictions from it, then, or they still get convictions after not doing the thing that they shouldn't be doing, then we can have more confidence in the system. But if we keep making the mistakes, how confident can we be when this person maybe didn't do the thing, and yet we know you've made mistakes over here? So that is how I answer the question. It's a long about answer. How I answer, how do you do this? How could you possibly defend someone like this? It's easy. It's not just, well, it's my job. It was. But it's easy because I believe in the system. And as I said, yes, it has its problems. I'm not going to deny that at all. And I'm not going to get into them, but it has its problems. Absolutely. No defense attorney would say otherwise, I don't think. I don't think practically anybody would say it doesn't have issues. But it's the system we have, and it's the system we have to work with. And we can make it better by following the rules that we have. And yes, then we get to people who don't understand the rules that we have and don't understand why that this person should be allowed to go free because of some stupid technicality. Well, again, we protect innocents from getting convicted of the thing that they didn't do. By following the rules as best we can prevent innocent people from going to jail. Not going to say that it's not going to happen, because again, our system is not perfect. It's not. But we do our best, and we try. And as criminal defense attorneys, it felt good. It felt good to know that you were helping the system. Even if your client was convicted, even if you lost an appeal, it was still good to know that, you know what, okay, the system's been working. Or, you know, I tried. I did the best I could. And at the end of the day, the court said no. And maybe I disagree, but I did my job. And I love my job. And, you know, your job as a criminal defense attorney at trial, it's not as glamorous as you see on TV, right? What you're doing at the trial court level, most of the time, is damage mitigation. Like damage control. You want to try to make sure your client doesn't go to prison for the rest of their life. Maybe they'll go to prison for only like 4 years instead of 11. Maybe you can get them on probation, some kind of like blended, like 90 days in jail, 5 years of probation, so they can at least keep the job that they have. Because at least then they'll be able to pay the court costs and all the other stuff that they've been like slapped with because of their restitution to the victims especially. And yeah, some people do just need to go away. It's very true. There are some people that do things that they should not be in society for anymore. And as long as their convictions are proper, yeah, absolutely. So that's my rant. Holy crap, that went longer than I expected it to. But if you got any questions at all, feel free to ask down. Okay, I'm not used to this YouTube thing. I think they're down there. Comments section? I don't know. Whatever. I want to do more videos on misconceptions of the criminal justice system, but I'm not entirely sure where to start. So if you've got suggestions, please leave them. Comments, like, good, bad, I don't care, whatever. Go ahead. You can call me whatever. You know, I've heard it everywhere, even from my own clients, that you're a terrible lawyer. Well, I tried. I even had a guy who hated me even after I got his sentence partially reversed from 17 years to 7, and he still hated me. I'm like, dude, I just saved a decade of your life in prison. But okay, cool. He did say thanks. He did. He's like, well, yeah, thanks. I'm going to keep fighting. No, good luck with that. Anyway, please, let me know what you think. I welcome that, whatever it is. I'll see you guys maybe next time. If I figure out a topic I want to do one of these on, I'll probably make another one if I can figure out what I want to do. But until next time,